Hello, everyone.
Greetings. We are on page 68 of the Finished Mystery. And here they're dealing with one verse, chapter 3, verse 20 of Revelation, and only part of it is that. So they spend the next 3 pages on the first
Phrase
of verse 20, which is, "Behold, I stand at the door." Now you remember that "and knock" comes after that. Well, they're going to dwell on the standing at the door, which tells you something already about what they want you to see in your mind's eye, which is an invisible knock on the door. Invisible knocker.
Invisible knock? Yeah, an invisible knocker.
So, yeah, they've got you primed already with this image that, well, trust us, we know who is at the door. So let's see what they do with this, because this stuff is amazing in the fact that none of it coheres.
And it'll sound that way, too.
even then it didn't cohere, but the point that we want to make up front is they've abandoned almost all of this now. But just listen and see if you can make sense of this on the page.
Some of the scriptures, which when understood in their connections and significance, prove that the Lord's second advent occurred in the fall of 1874, are as follows.
Can we just pause there? So what does this all prove, they say? It proves that the Lord's second advent occurred in the fall of 1874.
Yeah.
Not 1 ounce of caution here.
No.
Now, see if any of this proves anything to you.
Speak ye comfortably to Jerusalem, and cry unto her, and her warfare is accomplished, that her iniquity is pardoned. For she hath received of the Lord's hand double for all her sins. Isaiah 42, and a reference to their publication.
Which is the time is at hand, by the way.
And first I will recompense their iniquity and their sin double.
So they're doubling down on doubling here. What's this got to do with today? Well, they don't know anything about this today, do they? I'd never heard of this myself until I actually read Russell and saw where he got it from. Now, some of this is in the 3 worlds. We've done a whole playlist on that. So the doubling idea has to do with chronology. It has to do with periods of punishment somehow corresponding to periods of sin. So now, that idea is in the Bible, but not the idea of a link to chronology.
So they've done Isaiah, Jeremiah, and here comes Zechariah. Turn you to the stronghold, ye prisoners of hope. Even today do I declare that I will render double unto thee.
Now, all 3 of these references so far are based on the time is at hand. So if you want to know more about this double idea, read the time is at hand and then go back to 3 worlds.
The 14th day of the 2nd month at even they shall keep it. That's from Numbers, chapter 9. And when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins. That's Genesis 25:24.
No, that's a reference to the Watchtowerr of 1894, sorry. And what does twin have to do with double? Well, 2, but we don't know any connection today, do we?
It's about babies in a womb, so I don't know what connection it has. And when he was full 40 years old, it came into his heart to visit his brethren. And when 40 years were expired, there appeared to him in the wilderness of Mount Sinai an angel of the Lord. Wonders and signs in the land of Egypt, and in the Red Sea, and in the wilderness, 40 years. Acts 7.
This is based on the Watchtowerr of 1911. And you wonder again, what's that got to do with twins, and what's it got to do with a double punishment? Well, this is not. Is this a double punishment? No, it's 2 periods of 40 years. But somehow it's a type of, or a shadow of some period.
Yeah, and all of these are supposed to be proofs.
And then you realize, well, what's the 40-year link here? Well, 40 years from 1874, when the second advent occurred, until 1914. So you can see how locked in this all is to one structure that you think you're the only people who know about this.
Blessed is he that waiteth and cometh to the 1,335 days.
Well, this is the biggest single proof. If you go by the year-day theory, which they did in those days, but I would have to say consistently, unlike today, where the year-day remnant, the only idea they have linked the year-day to nowadays is 1914. Everything else is now days. So 1,335 days from Daniel chapter 12 is now literal days, whereas in Daniel 4 it's symbolic days of 360 years apiece for the tree vision, right? So what is this of? Well, in those days they thought the 1335 years expired in 1874. So that's the extra 75 added on to 1260, which is supposedly the time that leads up to the end of the rule of the Hur and the Beast. 1798, Napoleon taking the Pope off the throne in Rome. I hope that all makes sense. Because unless you've read the books, you don't see any sense in this at all.
No, I still don't make sense of it anyways. It's just hodgepodge all over the place. Okay. Then shalt thou cause the trumpet of the Jubilee to sound on the 10th day of the 7th month in the day of atonement.
Okay, what does that mean?
Leviticus 25.
And again, it's to the times at hand.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I love the Jubilee principle, but they have made it a chronological idea corresponding to the day-year thing. Mm. So they have a Jubilee happening in 1875, and they have another one in 1925, and doesn't that link to 1975 ultimately? Mm. Yeah, so you can see how they've got this rickety structure, which nevertheless looks very complete to them at the time.
As long as she lay desolate, she kept Sabbath to fulfill 70 years. 2 Corinthians 36 in the finished mystery.
So this is
time is at hand again.
This is a time is at hand again, and they're linking it now to the 70 years of the exile, which were literal years, not days, right?
Mm. In that day shall there be an altar to the Lord in the midst of the land of Egypt, and a pillar at the border thereof to the Lord. And it shall be for a sign and for a witness unto the Lord of hosts in the land of Egypt.
Great prophecy, but is this the Great Pyramid that it's talking about? Because in those days you thought it was. I do believe one day it will be literally fulfilled, but it won't be a pyramid that will fulfill it. It will be an altar that is sanctified for the use of Yahweh. And in the same prophecy, of course, you have the glorious vision of a highway going from Assyria to Egypt, of course, going through the Promised Land, and all of these nations worshiping Yahweh. So, yes, I take this literally, but not as a reference to the pyramid. And, of course, they've completely abandoned this today.
The like figure whereunto even baptism doth also now save us. 1 Peter 3.
Baptism, I don't know why that's connected here.
In the first year of Cyrus, king of Persia, he made a proclamation. That's Ezra 1. 1:1.
And then that's also connected in the next one to the restoration of the temple, in a literal temple this time in Judah.
And that's Ezra 6:15. This house was finished on the 3rd day of the month Adar, which was in the 6th year of the reign of Darius the king. And one more Ezra, chapter 7. This Ezra went up from Babylon, and he came to Jerusalem in the 5th month, which was in the 7th year of the king. And then Nehemiah, in the 20th year of Artaxerxes the king.
Well, these are all very good chronological details, but they have to do with the 5th century BC, nothing to do with 1874, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what does any of this have to do with 1874, except that, behold, I stand at the door, you're assuming you know who's at the door, and that he's here now. That is, he's here now between 1874 and 1914.
So they say it proves that the Lord's second coming occurred in the fall of 1874.
Yeah.
What it really proves is that your organization is founded on a false prophet.
Yeah. There's nothing left of all of this. Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So they knew nothing about the invisible presence. So the scripture they're actually fulfilling is Matthew 24, but not verse 14.
Mm-hmm.
They're fulfilling that there will be the false prophets and false messiahs in the last days who will say, among other things, look, he is in the inner chambers. Trust us.
So the beginning of the next paragraph, which we'll get into the next time, says that these were the time proofs of the Lord's return. Yeah. And then we're going to do the promised signs the next time.
Yeah, and lots more too. So 2 more pages of proofs that 1874 is the time of the Lord's second advent.
And our link is from the series of your readings from 3 Worlds. Barbour Russell. Put faith in our absolutely harmonious dates.
Right.
Right.
See you next time.